That's
We are live.
Welcome to Senate Chat, the Utah State Senate's opportunity for the public to ask questions as you're viewing over the internet, and for our media to ask questions. Let's see, we are in our second to last week. Tomorrow is a House day. We'll start working on House bills after we get through the third reading calendar. And today we're working on Senate bills, and we're making some progress. Last day to hear Senate bills is next Monday by rule, and after that, House bills only until we adjourn sine die at midnight on next Thursday, March 10th. Let's go ahead and start with questions from our media.
Budget negotiations, where are you and how are those going?
We are, I believe, ahead of schedule as compared to other years I've been involved with the budget. So we're meeting, we're working through the differences. I suspect that we'll have something, I'm hoping, done by tomorrow night.
Lyle's in the back.
Could be Thursday, Lyle.
I tell everyone we've agreed to one thing, we have to be done by Friday.
Yeah.
Other questions from the media?
What are the sticking points you're hitting at this point?
How to spend the money.
Yeah, how not to spend the money.
There's a lot of areas where we agree. One of the biggest issues that we're going to face is just which buildings to fund and which ones we're not going to be able to fund. The IGG committee, infrastructure committee, they go through and they prioritize a list of buildings, and it will be, which is different than the building board, which is different than the Board of Regents, how they ranked buildings and how they should be funded, and we have limited funds, so that's one area that could take some time to work through.
You've got a big, I think, speaking of buildings, $50 million, I think, from the University of Utah for the medical school reconstruction.
Yep, that's it's a big ask.
Is that likely to get funded at this point, or where is that? What's it looking like?
Don't trust him, he's a Ute.
Everything is still on the table at this point. I couldn't comment really with any surety what has the most favor and what doesn't.
You're knock $80,000 off of their $50 million request.
Yeah, there's limited funds and there's more asked than what we can accomplish.
I'll say one thing I'm really proud about the legislature is we know our limits, and when we run out of money, we stop. And I often hear people say in other states they don't quite do that, and I think it's a tough thing to do, because you have to go right in front of people and make the decisions. We're just working out some recommendations that we think will pass both bodies.
But if there's money available, we're going to probably spend it.
and you're not taking into account any of like the online sales tax money you might generate from that stuff.
No.
I want to add something else. President Niederhauser has a unique background of being a CPA. And it's been really delightful for me to work with him and see how he understands not just the figures but the overall budget. It's been really good to work with him.
I can second that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
The House earlier this morning passed the resolution calling for a constitutional convention. I know you've been involved with some of that. I'd just kind of like to get maybe your thoughts on that resolution and the need for a constitutional convention.
Was the resolution just a call for a convention, or was there a purpose to that convention?
I think it's for specifics.
So just the convention idea in general, the Article 5 in the Constitution of the United States says that Congress can propose amendments to the Constitution with a 2/3 vote of the House and the Senate, or the states can propose amendments to the Constitution when 34 states by resolution ask Congress to call a convention, and when 34 states have called for a convention, Congress shall call the convention. I've been involved with ASL, Assembly of State Legislatures. There's a website out there for them if you Google it, but we've been involved in working together to try and draft rules under which a convention would operate. And we had a meeting here in Salt Lake, and I think you're all aware of that. We found that it won't be as easy as we thought initially to get everybody to agree to certain processes and rules. But I suspect that even though this is unofficial ASL, once they get into an official meeting in a constitutional convention, they'll face similar challenges that we did here in Salt Lake City with our ASL meeting. And so it's probably good that states get together informally now and try and work out some of those differences, so when a convention is called, then you might save them months and a lot of heartache trying to figure out what rules work and what rules and procedures work and what doesn't. So I'm a big fan of it. There's a lot of the big question out there on probably mostly the polar ends of politics. Is they're worried that there'd be a runaway convention, meaning they would completely do a wholesale change of the Constitution. They could do that potentially, depending on the rules and the resolutions. But at the end of the day, 38 states have to ratify anything that Congress proposes or the states propose. And I know of at least 25 red states that aren't going to ratify a wholesale change to the Constitution. So I think that that's an argument that really doesn't hold water.
I do think it's healthy that states get together. We have a 10th Amendment, states' rights. As states come together to talk about issues and to try to deal with issues, I think it's, as the President's indicated, it's probably our responsibility, not just a right, that I think our founding fathers wanted the states to push back on the federal government, and we can see the value of that right now with the dysfunctional federal government. And I think as states we have an obligation to at least consider what we need to do to try to make changes that we think ought to be made and correct things we think are wrong. So we're all concerned about runaway conventions, but I think as far as a convention of the states, to come together as states, I mean, if you believe in the 10th Amendment, you surely believe we ought to have dialogue.
There's, coming from the left, there's election reform. Coming from the right, there's the BBA, Balanced Budget Amendment. There are a lot of other proposals out there. One that I really like is the Countermand Amendment to the Constitution that would allow the states, when 34 legislatures pass a resolution, they could repeal any act of Congress, Supreme Court ruling, or regulation adopted by the executive branch. So the states would have a referendum, so to speak, like we have here in this state. So if the legislature goes rogue, guess what? The people can, by referendum, repeal anything that we've done here as the legislature. So I think that would create bring us back to a good, healthy balance between the states and the federal government if the states had a referendum process. That if 34 states without a convention voted to repeal an act of Washington, they'd always be looking over their shoulder, making sure the states are on board with whatever they're doing. I think it would be a healthy balance.
I'm going to ask, I guess, if it's constitutional for the states to repeal a Supreme Court decision, but I guess if it's an amendment to the Constitution, it becomes constitutional.
Yeah, I would assume that would be the case.
The bill that they passed today says, calling a convention of states limited proposing amendments to the Constitution, impose fiscal restraints, balanced budget, I guess. Limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government and limit the terms of office for.
So that's actually what is called the Convention of the States. It's a group out there proposal to. So it's a multifaceted amendment to the Constitution.
Do all the resolutions have to be matching in word from the states?
There's a lot of different opinions on that. I think at the end of the day, personally, just what I know about that is as long as the meaning of those resolutions are in harmony, you know, some would call for a fiscal or balanced budget, you know, maybe that is different. I believe that it's really difficult to say, but the states, if we don't want to have it challenged in court, we got to have it as closely worded as possible.
Be advisable.
Can somebody talk about why there was opposition to setting a time certain for Indigenous Peoples Day this morning?
I can tell you why I voted. We're drawing the end of the session. We've got to be done by Thursday or Friday night. So I think there's going to be a lot of action, a lot of people off the floor, a lot of people working on the budgets. If you're going to do something like this, you ought to do it the first week or two of the session when we have more time. It's just time is so precious. And I hate to have that brought out and spend a couple of hours on it. Because I think if you look at our board, we just don't have that much time right now. I think the timing is wrong.
So it's too controversial to set for this time certain?
I don't know about controversial, but I suspect there'll be a lot of people who want to speak. And I think when you do that, take time, especially the last week we really have finished Senate business. I'm not in favor of that.
Won't that happen anyway when it comes up for debate? If
Good.
It's just at any time?
But when it comes up regular for debate, isn't quite the same as you said at time certain. Because somebody, as soon as you get up on a regular time, somebody could make a motion to send the bill to rules or something like that and have it over with in a hurry. But when it's a time certain, I don't think you can do that. You can, but I don't think you would.
But I mean, we've done a lot of time certains. I know, like you said, you've done them previously. I think you have one this afternoon, if I remember right, don't you? Or maybe you had it this morning.
Hopefully they'll sing my happy birthday to my son today too. We won't be very controversial very long.
You're going to do it fast. Don't
I
you?
will.
But I mean, you do these pretty frequently. So specifically, so people who are supporting the bills or supporting the measures can get up here and enjoy the moment, I guess, for lack of a better.
I think there's a Friday afternoon one on abortion. That seems like it would
Which
also
was
get.
set yesterday too.
That would also get a lot of.
I was on the floor. I'd have voted no. For the same reason.
Do you have any thoughts, President?
Well, I heard about that because I was off the floor working on the budget, and I don't know.
Yeah, I was off the floor too. What were the reasons for it?
There were no.
There was just a vote.
It got 8 votes, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
usually there's a reason to have time certain. Right?
Oh, the reason for the time certain.
I'd like to lift all my bills to time certain.
No, Senator
so.
DeBackus said he had some people from southeastern Utah coming up for Indigenous Peoples, or it's Indigenous Peoples Day.
From the Four Corners.
From the Four Corners.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Which was, I guess, the
Wasn't on the floor.
same reason that was given for Senator Grambles.
Probably need to bring some people in for
Senator
a couple of
Okerlund
bills.
smiling. Do you have
I think that was the worry, that it would, there really wasn't any discussion about why people voted aye or nay, any discussions of the motion, but I think that was kind of a concern, was that there were going to be a lot of people coming in and it would amount to a lot of time on the floor. How do you think that's what it was?
So if I am Senator DeBackus, this afternoon, when we get to second reading calendar, that's the first bill up, I circle it. And then I uncircle on Friday afternoon.
Ways to do it.
Unless, I guess, the body doesn't want him to
Circle it.
circle it. So I'm not sure. We'll see.
If
We'll
I'm
see how
already
it goes.
here, so the cat's out of the bag.
Keep your mouth shut.
It'll come up this afternoon, so.
Yeah.
Hope he doesn't watch the Senate chat.
He's got a friend in Karen.
Nobody tell him.
We're trying to motivate people to watch it.
What's on the caucus agenda? Senator Oakley?
We're going to be talking about immigration. Got that bill that's coming up on sunset on that. We're going to have, we're actually going to have one of our counterparts from across the aisle come over and talk to us about bringing a bill back. It's interesting it that we dealt with a week or so ago that has changed a little bit for her, and so she wants to talk to us about it. And we probably spent most of the time on budget.
Any other questions? Any questions from our viewers? Well, now that you know that sometimes we offer up secret ways to work on legislation, maybe we'll get more viewers coming in and more questions. So thanks for watching with us today, and thanks to our media for being here.